Hey guys, it is me, Jacqueline, for today's video. I have a book review for Roseblood by A.G. Howard. This is a Phantom of the Opera inspired retelling that came out on January 10th, 2017. I was sent an ARC in exchange for an honest review, so I do want to thank the publishers so much for sending this book my way. I really enjoyed this book and I can't wait to talk more about it with you guys. Like I said, this is an inspired retelling of the Phantom of the Opera, but it's almost like a modern continuation of the original story. In this book, we follow our main character, Ruin, who is blessed with a beautiful singing voice, but every time she actually sings, it physically hurts her. Her mom wants her to take control of the talent she has, and so she decides to send Ruin off to a boarding school in France that is known for the arts and music. This school does have a past, and that past could be connected to the original Phantom of the Opera. Ruin is very suspicious about the school. She doesn't want to go. She doesn't feel right about it. And when she finally does arrive at the boarding school, she still feels unsettled and almost like someone is watching her. As time goes by, she realizes her suspicions might be correct. And that is all I'm going to say for the summary of this book. I myself am a huge fan of the Phantom of the Opera. I am not a huge musical person, but just something about that musical just speaks to me. And I have yet to read the book. I know I'm ashamed, but I was super excited for an inspired retelling, and I'm so happy at the fact I picked this up because I really enjoyed this book. I gave it a 4 to 5 stars. I loved the characters in this book. I loved the original plot line, and yet I found the fact this was all sort of original. It still had the same tone and essence of the original Phantom of the Opera. Starting off with the prose, the first one I had was the writing style. This book is written in third-person dual POV, in which we go back and forth between our two main characters, and this was actually the first book I've ever read by A.G. Howard, but I definitely want to pick up more of her books because I found her writing to be so beautiful. I loved how every single word she wrote had some meaning and some purpose, and I just found it just flowed so nicely throughout the whole entire story. The next pro I had were the characters. I was not expecting to love these characters as much as I did. I really enjoyed our main character, Ruin, but the one character that really stole the show for me was our second main character, Thorn, and I love his character, and I didn't even know I loved him that much until we went through his past, and I just started crying, and I was like, what is wrong with me? Why do I feel so connected and so sympathetic? I just really appreciated the fact that I still felt so emotionally attached to these characters. I also really enjoyed the side characters as well. I did wish we saw more of them, but nonetheless, they were great side characters. So the next point I have to make is a pro in a sense, but also has a con attached to it, and that is the plot line. The plot itself I really enjoyed. I found that certain factors surprised me and certain elements I just didn't even expect would be in the book, but the thing mostly about the plot that was the con factor was the fact it was a little bit of a slower pace. Overall, I didn't mind that, but specifically in the beginning, it was harder for me to push through the novel because I almost felt a little bit discombobulated. At first, when you start off the book, I myself felt very confused and like, whoa, wait. What's going on? And there was just a lot of information being thrown at you. But like I said, her writing style specifically, every word has meaning and every sentence has an importance to it, and so it is a lot of information at the same time, but it's all important information. So once I got used to the writing style and used to this world with these characters, I really fell in love with the story, and I didn't really mind the slower pace. It probably took me to like chapter 4 to get there, and these are shorter chapters, so that's not really too far into the book. The next point I want to talk about is the romance. Without giving anything away, I do have to say I felt like when I first sort of thought about it, it was insta-love, but now after reading this entire book and seeing it in a outwards perspective, I have to say I don't find that this was insta-love just because it makes sense since these characters technically have history together. I did feel like at first it was a little weird for me, but when you just sort of get in tune with it and really think about it, for me it started to make sense and I started to really feel behind the romance because I do enjoy these two characters so much, so I didn't really mind them being together as well. And at the end, honestly, with these two characters, I was so happy they were together. The final thing I want to talk about is the fact this was a retelling. I felt like this did such justice to the original story because, yet again, I keep saying this, it kept the same tone and essence of the original story. And what I mean by that is, when I was reading this book, I had the same exact feelings I had when I watched the movie or watched the musical of the Phantom of the Opera. For me, it became very obvious the fact that A.G. Howard put a lot of research into this book, and you can just tell she really loves the Phantom of the Opera, and I think that drove her to write such an amazing book. I would definitely recommend this if it does sound like something you would enjoy. I really enjoyed it myself. If you have picked it up, let me know down below in the comment sections what you thought of it, or let me know what you thought of my review, and I will see you guys later. Bye!